Alright guys, welcome to the video. So in this video today, I'm going to review a video called The Simple Productivity System That Got Me into Harvard and Yale by Spoon-Fed Study. Now, I'm going to be completely honest, I've never heard of Spoon-Fed Study. I'm not super familiar with his content or what his page offers, but the video seemed interesting. Of course, the title caught my attention, and I figured we can break down the strategies that he provides in this video and just kind of dissect it and see whether or not it's good advice or terrible advice, and to see how it can be applied to you, whether you're a college student, whether you're a busy professional, whether you're a freelancer or creative or whatever it is you're doing in your own personal life. So before we get into the video, I want to introduce myself if you're not familiar with who I am, and if this is your first time here. My name is Lenny Richardson, top productivity trainer in Northern Virginia. I'm an author, and I'm the founder of Productivity Accelerator, a business that helps young, busy professionals get more done in less time with scientifically backed productivity strategies. Now, with that being said, let's get into the video.
Most productivity systems, they're either too complex, too difficult to set up.
Now, by the way, I might pause a lot. Usually when I do these reactions, I have a lot to say. So let me know in the comments if that bothers you. I'll stop doing it. But for the sake of this video, I do want to start by saying this. He mentioned that a lot of productivity systems are very complex, and that is one of the major downsides I tend to see with a lot of productivity systems. A lot of clients that we've had in the past, one of the things that they tend to do is they have overly complicated systems that they believe help them feel productive. And what I tend to find is that a lot of people confuse being busy with being productive. They think that if they're doing a lot of things, they're being productive and they're making their way toward a specific goal. When in reality, true productivity is just doing as few things as possible to get to whatever your intended destination is as quickly as you can. Does that make sense? Like a lot of people think that if they fill up their calendar with a bunch of different activities, emails, phone calls, posting on social media every single day, that's what leads them to their intended outcome. When in reality, one day can be spent just making videos. Another day could be just spent maybe making phone calls. Another day could be spent doing nothing at all, just recovering, relaxing. That is productivity in itself as well. The fewer things you can do to get to your intended result, the better. So I want to start off by just saying that. I'm not sure if he's going to go deeper into this or if he's going to reiterate this point as well. Like I said, I've never watched this video, so I'm not too sure what he's going to say. He might completely disagree with me. But that's something that we see a lot, is that people tend to overcomplicate what productivity is, and they do too much when in reality they should be just doing a lot less.
Or just too rigid to be useful. Get rid of all that noise and get back to basics. In this video, we'll talk about the most simple, intuitive, effortless productivity system ever made. Something you can use even if you are stuck on a desert island with nothing but some coconuts. And you don't even need the coconuts. Quite literally, you need nothing. But amazingly, it will still somehow work. In fact, it's what I used to get into Harvard for undergrad, Yale for medical school, and Harvard again for residency. And I'm going to share it with you.
Real quick, one thing I want to bring up too. Years ago, I used to have a company called Years ago, I used to have a company called College Conqueror. And one of the things that I kind of learned from College Conqueror, by the way, College Conqueror was sort of it wasn't intended to be a business, but it ended up being sort of a small business in which we helped high school students and college students kind of improve their overall performance while in college. And beyond. So we're teaching them techniques so they can apply in college and in life outside of college, whether that's in their career, their professional life, whether it's in their personal life, whatever it is, that's what we taught at College Conqueror. And one of the things that I kind of noticed from just doing a lot of research and kind of reviewing and studying many of the top college students that also became top professionals after college is really that they all have the exact same systems. They don't do anything that different. They all spent the exact same time studying. They all did the exact same study tactics. They all had more or less the exact same productivity routine. I bring this up just because whatever he's about to share with you that helped him get into Harvard and Yale, they're not strategies that are solely designed for the sake of getting into college. Most likely, they're strategies that can apply anywhere and everywhere, regardless of what your goal is and regardless of what you're trying to accomplish. So he's probably going to say that as well, but I kind of wanted to just beat him to the punch and bring that up as well in case he missed it.
So you too can get what you want. Here we go. Strategy number 1, the inverted pyramid method. Always start your day with the most important thing, spending the majority of your time on this task. You give yourself an allotted amount of time, let's say 3 hours, and after you finish, or 3 hours are up, whatever comes first, you funnel down, spending proportionally less and less time on the tasks that are less and less important. In a 3-tiered system, you'd spend 3 hours on your most important thing, 2 hours on the second most important thing, and 1 hour on the third most important thing. That's pretty much it. It's as simple as it gets. No complicated calendar scheduling, no insane planning in advance. Just settle in, put on a timer for 3 hours, put on airplane mode, and get to work. The hours you
Yeah, so this is gold right here. This is completely gold. One thing I tend to find a lot is people, in a weird way, they procrastinate by, like I mentioned earlier, people confuse being busy with being productive. One of the ways I see people kind of struggle to achieve what they want to achieve is they do what I call putting the cart before the horse. So, say for example, you're someone who wants to write a book. I had a client recently. She's an attorney and she wants to write a book. She kind of has I think it's like a thriller, like a legal thriller she's trying to write. She put the cart before the horse because despite her wanting to write the book, she'd spend endless time researching. And you probably are thinking to yourself, well, of course you need to research in order to write a book, which is true. You do need to research. But ultimately, no amount of research will allow you to write the book. Like, the research in itself does not get the book written. What gets the book written is you taking the time to write the book. Does that make sense? Like you sitting down at your computer or typewriter or piece of paper, whatever you choose, and actually just writing the book. And a lot of people, what they do is they procrastinate by taking some other activity that's a lot simpler and a lot easier and doesn't require any risk of failure or rejection. And they do that infinitely. But by doing that, they never get the main thing done. So I love what he's saying right here. Make it a 3-tiered approach. Focus on the most important thing first and then funnel your way down. What I would just add to this, just to make it a little bit more simplistic, is don't even try to do 3 things. Like, if you're someone who's used to kind of working a lot and you're someone who has a very disciplined, very structured daily work routine, then sure, you can try to do 3 things in one day. It's perfectly fine. If you're someone who's new to this, or if you're someone who easily gets burnt out or overwhelmed, what I typically recommend people do is just do one thing. So, for example, if you're someone who is trying to write an essay for college, just write your essay. Like, that's all you do is just write the essay. If you have other things that you need to do, other projects that need to be accomplished, don't worry about those things yet. Focus on the one thing that matters the most. And in this case, that might be writing the essay. And of course, depending on what the task or project is, you have to break things down. And I tend to suggest breaking things down into little micro tasks, is what I call them. But once you figure out the exact thing that you need to do that'll get you from point A to point B in the most straightforward way possible, just do that one thing. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to use a planner. You don't need to use a calendar. I personally recommend you do because it lets you see where your time's going. But, if you're someone who's seasoned at this and if you're someone who's able to kind of really discipline themselves to put in the work when they need to, then no, it's not necessary. But I 100% agree with what he's saying. Start with the most important thing first and then work your way down to the least important things.
Each slot of the inverted pyramid is arbitrary. I personally like the 3-2-1 system because
By the way, I love the little Vegeta toy. I think that's a what do they call those things? I forget what they're called. It's gonna bother me now. Whatever. I love the little Vegeta figure.
Easy to remember and gives me enough time for solid work. But decide what works for you. The most important part of this whole thing is picking what goes in each of these 3 slots. Don't put stupid stuff here and waste your time. Think about what you're trying to accomplish. What would your goal in its most finished ultimate state look like? What is the most important thing you could achieve in the next 3 hours in service of this goal? That if we're done, would get you 80% of the way there. This is the crux of strategy number 2, the Pareto principle. It states that for many outcomes, 80% of results come from 20% of the causes. This is the power of leverage, and if you consistently focus your work on the 20% that matters, not only will you become more efficient, you'll have more time to do whatever you want with, like bake gingerbread cookies and save puppies from being punched. Don't strive to be perfect.
Yeah, so again, totally agree. Pareto principle, a lot of people may have heard that before, but they don't apply the lessons of the Pareto principle into their own lives and into their own goals. And if you're not familiar with the Pareto principle is, he kind of just described it, but essentially 80% of your overall results come from only 20% of your activities. So if you're someone who's, say for example, of you in bodybuilding, about 80% of your physique or 80% of your results only come from about 20% of your workouts or 20% of your lifts. So there's 20% of the things you're doing that matter the most. And the idea behind this concept is rather than focus on the 80% that does not matter as much, focus on the 20% that matters the most, so that way you don't have to work as hard to get the things you want done. Does that make sense? I think a good way to kind of describe this is, a good way for me to illustrate this point is, I'll tell you a quick story. So years ago, I used to work at a law firm. And when I first got into the law firm, the main attorney sort of asked me, what do you suggest we try when it comes to us getting more clients and working less? He said one of the big strategies, or one of the big goals at the law firm, was basically minimizing the attorney's workflow. He said that basically when it came down to it, the attorneys had a lot of clients. They had no problem getting more clients, but some clients were more valuable than other clients. There were some clients that were a lot easier and a lot simpler and had much better settlements, and there were other clients who had very low settlements, but they were a lot more effort. They were a lot more of a pain. They would ask a lot more questions. They would never listen to the attorneys and take the attorney's advice, which led to the cases being more complicated down the line. And so the main attorney suggested, what do you think we should try to do so that way we can get paid more while working less? And I suggested to him, have you ever heard this thing called the Pareto principle? And at the time, I think he had heard about it, but he wasn't like super familiar with it. So we talked about it, and I said to him, if you don't mind, let me look at all of your settlements from the past 5 years, and let me see if I can find a pattern. So I did that. I looked at all of the settlements for the past 5 years, and what I noticed is that all the settlements that closed the fastest and had the bigger payouts were all people who were provided to the law firm based on referrals. So these are people who knew the attorneys or staff at the law firm personally and referred them to their friends. The other people who were the hardest clients were people who were more cold, we'll call it. They're people who responded to ads or people who got into a car accident or an issue and simply like Googled nearby law firms. Those were the worst clients to have. And ultimately, what I concluded and what I suggested to the main attorney is, if your 80% of profit, of revenue, come from people that you guys just know personally, maybe we should make more of an effort to just meet more people personally, to just know more people in the community, to know more people nearby. And the more people we know, the higher the chance that those people will refer people they know to the law firm. And if this trend keeps up, then that means that the people they refer will be much better clients with much bigger settlements that'll pay out much faster because they're willing to listen, and there'll be less work for the attorneys. Less hard work, we'll put it. So we shifted our marketing strategy and we shifted our focus to not really prioritizing ads as much and not cold outreach as much. We prioritized our focus into trying to get basically a better connection with the community, so that way we can get more profit and more leads and more intakes that way. So that's kind of an example of the Pareto principle. You have to kind of understand and really do a little bit of work to figure out what that 80%, what that 20% of activity is that leads to the 80% returns. And once you figure out what that thing is, you basically just double down on that 20% activity. Whatever that thing is, do that as much as possible or focus on that solely, depending on what your overall work goals are. So hopefully that makes sense.
Just make it a habit to figure out where this magical 20% is. Most people have heard about this, but inherently don't utilize this consistently in their work and end up focusing on the wrong things, making up for it by brute force and sheer hard work. I've seen these people in my high school, in college, and even in...
One more thing I'll mention, because I know if someone, you might be a beginner, or you might be someone who is asking yourself, how exactly do I figure out what my 20% is? The solution is really, if you've had any wins at all, ask yourself, where did those wins come from? Regardless of what you're trying to do, if you've had any wins, figure out where those wins have come from. pick a random subject. Say you're someone who, I'll give an example. I made a YouTube channel a while back. My main YouTube channel this year crossed the 1,000 subscriber mark, which was a benchmark that I had set for myself because that's where you get monetized. That was a goal of mine to get past 1,000 subscribers. I took YouTube seriously in January of this year, 2025, and by March, I exceeded my goal and I hit about 4,000 subscribers by that point. And the 20% that led to me getting the 80%, which would be all the subscribers, was really just consistency. That was really what it came down to. Just posting content consistently, making 3 videos a week. There was no real trick. There was no secret sauce. There was nothing special that I was doing, at least that I could gather, that led to me getting those results. Ultimately, what it came down to was timing and a little bit of good luck. So I figured, you know what the strategy should be? Instead of trying to like hack the system, instead of trying to do all this extra stuff that people suggest that doesn't seem to be working, really what seems to be working is just putting out content consistently, 3 videos a week or 2 videos a week, whatever it is, and hoping that one of those videos will do well. Does that make sense? So really what I'm suggesting is whatever field you're in, whatever you're trying to do, find a win. And once you find a win, ask yourself, how did I get to this win? Whatever it is you conclude, however you came up with that win, just do more of that because that's likely the 20%. Now, obviously, I want to make this clear. If you've had different wins in different areas, then I'll give an example. A while back, I had a client who's a real estate agent, and he was trying to pretty much do what most people do when they come to Productivity Accelerator. He was trying to increase his income while working less. And we're kind of asking about a schedule. We're kind of getting an idea of what he has been doing. And we say to him, what has led to you getting clients and getting closings so far? Now, at this point, he's been trying a bunch of different things. He's been getting referrals. He's been doing social media marketing. He's been doing a newsletter. He's been doing open houses. And we looked at his numbers and realized that what led to him getting the most clients, that led to the most closings, was referrals and Instagram marketing. So that was his 20%. Really what it came down to was referrals the most. Referrals I think he had a lot more closings through referrals than he did through social media marketing. So we said to him, your 20% is your referrals. So just focus on getting more referrals. Focus on doing more outreach to people that you know with the hopes that they'll give you more clients. Now, obviously, it's not as predictable, but it does seem to be the thing that leads to the most results. So just keep doing it. Do it harder. If you do it for about 4 hours currently, do it for 8 hours a week currently, or move your way up to 8 hours a week and see where that goes. If the 8 hours a week lead to about double the clients, then we know that this is the thing that works the best. And if that is the case, we double down on it more. We double down on it as much as possible until it no longer provides the predicted amount of results. And then once we do that, we can also trickle some effort into the social media marketing just to make sure that there's still leads coming in from 2 different angles. But I just kind of want to give you an idea of what I mean when I say double down on that 20%. Figure out what the thing is that's currently been leading to the most results and just do that thing more. A lot of people, what they do is they try to do way too many things at once and they're not tracking what's working. And so they're burning themselves out because they're doing social media marketing. This is hypothetical if you're a business owner. Or they're doing social media marketing. They're doing cold calling. They're doing cold emailing. They're trying to make a lead magnet. They're trying to update their website consistently. They're doing too many things, and only one of those things are yielding results, and the other things do not matter. At least not right now. They can matter in the future, but they don't matter right now. So then the question is, why do you do those things? And it's because people don't really track the results. They don't know what that 20% is, and they're just kind of throwing, I guess, they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. I don't know if that's the correct phrase or not, but they're throwing stuff at the wall hoping that something will stick. So don't do that. Find the one thing that matters the most and focus on that one thing until it no longer yields predictable results.
School. People copying their notes 5 times in a row with different colored pencils, for example, to try and learn a subject. I've been victim to this mentality as well, in different shapes and forms, under leveraging my efforts and wasting precious time. The funny thing is, we often don't even realize we are doing it, because we feel like we're being productive, and it's this feeling that reinforces our inefficiency. This is what I call feel-good work, productivity done for the sake of productivity. So, To solve this, stop basing your productivity system on feelings and emotions. Use your brain and step outside of yourself. Is there a better way to do this? What is the most leveraged next step? If you're coaching yourself, what would you tell yourself to do? If you could only accomplish one thing today, what would that one thing be? When you have an answer, that's what you then do, the next most important thing. And the inverted pyramid dictates that you do this most important thing first. And the earlier you start it in the day, the better. Ideally, right after waking up. Brush your teeth, take your dump, wipe your butt, and then just get started. No fancy scheduling reminder system, no meticulous planning, just do it. Nike.
Yeah, so I got to pause again because I love this tip. A lot of clients we have, and I may have mentioned this earlier, a lot of clients we have, they struggle with this. At some point, I don't know where it came from. The whole idea of having like a very complicated morning routine became popular. And I was victim to it myself, so I know how it is. A lot of people think, oh, if I wake up and if I meditate and if I do my affirmations and if I stretch a little bit, if I go for a morning walk, and if I drink 1 cup of cold water and mix it with electrolytes and then drink another cup of hot coffee and then mix that with butter, they have this overly complicated morning routine. And what that does is they put themselves in a position where they feel like they're getting much done because other people who they perceive as being ahead of them told them to do that. When in reality, and I got to make this clear, all productivity is you doing as little as possible to get the outcome that you want. If this morning routine does not yield progress toward the outcome that you want, objective progress, it's not productive. That's ultimately what it comes down to. Again, if your goal is to write a book, you doing affirmations does not write the book. You stretching does not write the book. You drinking cold water with electrolytes does not write the book. You doing a morning jog does not write the book. The only thing that'll lead to you writing the book is you sitting down at your computer and writing the book. That's what it comes down to. And the simplest way to write the book, the simplest way to sit at your computer and write the book is to get it done as quickly as possible. Wake up in the morning, sit down, and start writing. Now, what I typically recommend people do, my personal take on this, for a lot of people it's difficult to just wake up and get to work. I don't recommend it for a lot of people. I think it can make whatever your goal is stressful, overly stressful, and it can make it undesirable at some point. Personally, I recommend people wake up and people do one thing that is difficult enough that it requires a certain degree of effort, but not so difficult that you're unwilling to do it. And I know that might sound a bit tricky and a little bit complicated, but let me just give you an example of what I mean. Me personally, when I wake up, the first thing I like to do is work out. It's difficult enough, working out in the morning is difficult enough for me that it takes a bit of effort, but if I do it, I get a reward from it. Like I feel like I've accomplished something important, but it's not so hard that I never can get it done. Like if I made my goal first thing in the morning to run 10 miles, for me, that's a bit extreme. And there's a high chance that I just will not do it. Especially when you factor in like the different seasons and all that stuff. There's a high chance I just won't do it. I just can't do it right now. Personally, 10 miles would be a lot for me. I don't like to run. I hate running. But I certainly would find ways to make excuses and just not get it done. I like to work out a little bit more, and when I work out, I feel better about myself and I feel like I've accomplished something. So I would start with that. For some people, it could be reading a chapter in a book. Again, difficult enough where if you accomplish it, you feel like you've gotten a reward, but not so difficult that it just can never be done. Does that make sense? And then once you do that one thing, what I found is that it builds up enough momentum and it gives you enough of a positive reinforcement that you can take all that energy, all that positive reinforcement, all that momentum, and carry that into the main effort. And again, hypothetically, if your goal is to write a book like my one client, that's how you start your day. You do the one thing that's easy and then transition that into the main thing that you have to do to accomplish your goal. So that's kind of just my 2 cents on how to make this work. I don't really recommend just waking up and just getting started with whatever you have to do. Some people, it might work perfectly. If you're one of those people, do it. For a lot of people, I think it'll lead to a bit of fatigue and a bit of overwhelm, and it won't be a great long-term strategy. So again, I want to reiterate this point because it's good to remind you of these things. Do something relatively simple but rewarding. Use that to build momentum. Use the momentum to do the main, difficult, most important thing. Hopefully that makes sense. let's get back to the video.
Started and finished the task. Once it is done, repeat the thought process. Figure out what the next most leveraged step is, and go do that. Your most important thing can be obviously different day to day, but that's the idea, to focus on using your brain to think critically about your situation and adapt to the moment. The efficiency gain will be enormous when you consistently leverage your efforts. For example, if I want to make it on YouTube, I need to get better at storytelling, editing, filming. Part of me knows this is a heavy lift, and inherently I want to avoid it. It's much easier to do busy work, browsing Amazon to find the perfect camera lens, watching another video on YouTube to get inspiration, finding more stock footage clips like this one to intersperse between my talking headshots, maybe hire another editor to do special effects like this. Yeah, probably not very high yield right now or worth my time. Right now, the highest yield effort would be simply to get in front of the camera, to turn it on, try and give you something of value, and hit upload. Everything else is second.
Boom. He just said it. That's exactly what I was saying when it comes to the hypothetical goal of writing the book. There's a million things you could do in pursuit of your big goal, but most of those things will be distractions. The thing that's most important is just doing the thing. If he wants to make a YouTube channel, don't focus on trying to hire a video editor. Don't focus on trying to find fancy editing software. Don't focus on trying to make all these transitions or cuts or anything like that. Focus solely on making the video. That's it. It's that simple. It's actually quite simple, but a lot of people overcomplicate it.
Just because I didn't spend 3 hours trying to find the cutest puppy in the world to be inserted right here won't realistically make or break this video. Strategy number 3. There are no rules to when you take breaks, just how you take breaks. Listen to your brain and body. If you cannot concentrate, stop wasting your time trying to push through and just take a break. If that means once an hour, then great. If that's twice every 10 minutes, that's fine. My only ask of you is this. When you take a break, don't let it be a mindless endeavor where you jump to your phone and scroll like a scavenger, hungrily looking for spikes of dopamine to distract yourself with. So what should you do on your break then? High intensity exercise. Exercise is good not only for your muscles and your heart, but also for your brain. Exercise ramps up the production of BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, a kind of miracle grow that supercharges your brain, creating and maturing new brain cells.
Now, this might be the first thing that we have a slight disagreement on. I agree with the BDNF. This is personally why I like to work out first thing in the morning. I like to have that brain-derived neurotrophic factor in the morning. I agree on that. I disagree slightly on the rest part. This is my take on this. I think when it comes to rest, many people trick themselves into believing that they're tired or that they need rest. It's difficult to know when you're actually tired versus when your brain is telling you you're tired. And it's something that you have to kind of just work on and kind of get a feel for. I'll say for most people, you're not really tired. You're just you're finding a way to procrastinate is really what it comes down to. You're tricking your brain into making excuses for yourself to not get done the thing that you know needs to be done. Quick story. When I used to work out, or when I tried to get into bodybuilding and working out, I would often get these phantom pains. I'd get these phantom knee pains or whenever I had to do leg day. It was consistent. It was always consistent. Whenever I had to do legs, my legs always felt like super, what's a good word for it? Like super sore for no reason, really. Because I hadn't been working out my legs, but they would somehow still be sore. And it would only be on the days that I had to do leg day. And when I kind of realized it, and for a while I would always talk myself out of doing legs. I would say, oh, you know what? I'm not feeling it today. I don't want to get injured. I'm sore. I'm tired. And eventually I said, why is it that I'm always sore and tired on the days where I need to do legs, but never on the days when I have to do chest or arms or any of the body parts that I actually like doing? Really, the reason is because my brain did not want to do it. So it was talking me out of it by finding random things to come up with to talk me out of it. I ignored my brain and I would start going to the gym to do legs, even when I had these phantom aches or phantom pains. And surprise, surprise, the moment I started doing legs, the pains went away, and eventually I got the workouts done and I made progress. I bring this up because people will say to themselves, oh, I feel tired right now. I'm not in the mood for this. I feel tired. It's like, you're not tired because you're physically tired or because you're mentally exhausted. You're telling yourself you're tired so that way you can make an excuse to not get done the work. So what I recommend, This is kind of why I recommend a planner, because if you start using the planner, you can see how frequently you make these excuses. You can see in real time if you review your planner for like a week and you put in your planner, say for example at 2 p.m. I want to make a YouTube video, and say for a week straight, whenever 2 p.m. comes, you don't make that YouTube channel because you're tired. This is a clear sign. You're not tired, you're just making excuses because you want to procrastinate, because you're probably afraid of what people might think of you. You're afraid of the judgment. You're afraid of the idea of putting a camera in front of your face. Whatever it is, there's something that bothers you and there's something that you're afraid of. You need to push past that. Stop saying that you're afraid. Not talk yourself into these excuses and just get the work done. And then you'll find that after the first 5 to 10 times you do this, you'll no longer have that fear of putting yourself in front of the camera or whatever it is you're trying to do. And that tiredness goes away. And it goes away because it never really existed. It was just you talking yourself into something that never really existed in the first place. Does that make sense? So this is why I slightly disagree, because some people will be tired. Like if you're someone who has been working 12 hours straight doing something high intense or even something mentally fatiguing, people underplay mental fatigue, then sure, you may very well be tired. I'm going to say that being tired is something that you can kind of push through. You can train yourself out of being tired, but that's for a different video. But if you're someone who hasn't been working that much, and you got to be honest with yourself, if you haven't been working that much throughout the day, and suddenly when it comes time to do the most important thing, you're tired or you don't feel like it, this is usually a sign that you're just procrastinating. You're not really tired. So I just want to keep that in mind. If you're tired, take a break. Rest. Rest is a form of productivity, but only when it's earned. Don't rest before it's time to rest, though.
In synaptic connections, perfect for learning, growing, and thinking. Think of high-intensity exercise as a way to literally upgrade your operating system and reset your mind for the next set of meaningful, productive work. The fact that so little people do this, despite the mountain of evidence growing in support of this, is mind-boggling, no pun intended. But don't worry, if nobody else is doing this, this is soon going to become your competitive edge. A study in the Journal of Physiology shows that even just 4 minutes of high-intensity exercises can quintuple the production of BDNF. Do jump them all. I almost and get back to work. The last strategy in the system is the most simple of them all. I almost hesitate to put it here, but for completion's sake, here it is. Simply focus. When you decide to work, work. Get rid of all distractions. Don't multitask, don't answer text messages, don't have Netflix on in the background. I rarely study or work with music because I want 100% of my brain.
Yeah, so this is big, and I agree with this one. This one's huge. Focus. Actually get done the work. What I tend to find a lot of people do, there's 2 main things that I found really distract people the most. One is their phones. If you're working, put your phones away. Put it on airplane mode, put it on grayscale mode, put it in a different room. Those are my 3 recommendations. The reason is because 1, if it's on grayscale mode, all of the little colors and the stuff that make you get a dopamine hit from opening your phone no longer exists, so those things won't hijack your brain. 2, put it on airplane mode, because if you don't put it on airplane mode, you'll have the urge to open your phone whenever you get a phone call or whenever you get a text message or a ping from a social media app. Airplane mode sort of blocks this out. Put it on silent as well. 3rd thing, put it away from you. I say this because even with airplane mode, I think sometimes with Wi-Fi, you can still get calls or you can still get text messages, or it depends on your phone and your plan. But if the phone's in a different room, when people call you, you're not going to be able to pick it up because you won't hear it. That's like one of the main things that keeps people from focusing. The second thing is other people in your environment. And this is a big one. This is a huge one. When you're working, make it clear to people around you that you're working. And work means do not talk to me. Do not interrupt me. I have blocks and segments when I'm free to talk. That's when you talk to me. You might have to be strict about it, but it's necessary if you want to get a goal accomplished. Express this to people. When I'm working, do not talk to me. Do not bother me. Unless it's something extremely urgent, like you're dying, then come to me. Otherwise, it can wait. Don't interrupt me. I'm not going to get too deep into the science behind this. I will say that a lot of people allow themselves to get interrupted by phone calls, text messages. If you have a spouse, they might interrupt you. If you have friends, they might interrupt you. Me personally, I used to work as a real estate agent at a brokerage. When I was at the brokerage, a lot of people, despite being able, because our offices had glass, so you can see the person inside the office at all times, people could see me on the computer working or on a phone call, and they'd still come in and talk to me. So it's like, why would you do this? Like, if you can see me working, don't bother me. But people don't respect work enough. People see work as like temporary, optional, I think subconsciously, that are willing to distract you from whatever it is you're doing. I think for a lot of people, it's kind of a side tangent. I think for a lot of people, they don't want to work. And so they see any excuse to not work as a valid reason to not work. It's like, oh yeah, this guy wants to talk to me. Me working can wait. This guy's more important. Let me talk about this thing. Oh, we can talk about sports. Sports is way more fun than working. Let's work. Or let's talk about this sports or politics or whatever. And I think because they allow themselves to get interrupted, they don't see their intrusion on your time as an intrusion. They see it as something that's relieving you from your work. My solution: be clear to people, express that you're working, be strict about it. Say like, hey bro, don't talk to me when I'm working. Like, I don't really mean, but I gotta get stuff done. Come back to me in like 10 minutes, or we can schedule a time to talk if it's that important. I do this with my friends all the time, by the way. If my friends want to talk to me, sounds mean, sounds rude, but it is what I do, and I enjoy doing it, and I think it helps me a lot. They'll say, oh, I want to talk to you on the phone. Okay, I'll be free in like 2 hours. Give me a call then at like 7 p.m. Oh, but you're not free now? No, bye. Like, I just don't talk to them. And if they call me, I will like ignore it. And maybe if I'm like not deep into work, I might send a quick text, like the autoresponder, and say, I'm working right now, call me back later. But that's the extent of it. I will not call back until I'm available to call back, or until I'm free to speak to you. I put the work first because the work's important. Do you need to be that extreme? Maybe not. But you gotta focus, and part of focus means shutting out all external distractions. So hopefully that makes sense.
To be focused on producing my best work. We only have so much bandwidth. Why would I sacrifice even 10% of this precious resource and have it be distracted by something I've handicapped myself with? That's just stupid. Focus your brain energy and fully utilize your time to get what you want. And that's it, folks. The most effortless, simple, intuitive productivity system ever. If this was helpful to you at all, be sure.
Alright, so that was an awesome video. I love this dude's kind of anime references. He's got a good sense of humor. I'm probably going to subscribe and watch more of his content. But yeah, overall, I agree with everything that he has to say. I think this is a fantastic video. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. By the way, I know that one of the things that hurts people the most when it comes to productivity is sort of seeing their problems from a third-party perspective, which is why we at Productivity Accelerator want to help with this. If you're interested in supercharging your productivity, getting a lot more done in a lot less time, and actually hitting your main goals, there's a link below. You can sign up for a 1-month free trial with us. It's a free trial. There's no risk required at all. One of our goals here is to make sure that you actually achieve some of your goals without paying a single dime. If you don't like what we have to offer, it's cool. After a month, you can just stop working with us. You didn't pay a dime. No risk, no harm. But if you receive enough results, and if you see it as something that you want to stick with long term, then continue, and we'll help you continue to scale in whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So like I said, if you're interested, click the link below for a 1-month free trial, and hope to see you soon. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.